Nintendo Switch might not have a roster of massive cinematic games that are narrative-driven and filled with high-quality cutscenes like Spider-Man 2 or God of War Ragnarok on PS5, but much of this falls down to its weaker hardware not being able to render games like these. Despite that, it doesn't mean that there are no narrative-driven games on the Switch. In fact, due to it being weaker hardware, developers are able to more easily make smaller, bite-sized indie games that focus on a cohesive narrative, along with a few gameplay mechanics, and there are a lot of them. These 10 games are extremely narrative-driven and include both critically acclaimed indie titles and ports of major AAA games. Sometimes small mountain towns hide more than just breathtaking views, and Haven Springs is one such town. The story of Life is Strange: True Color follows Alex Chen, who arrives in Haven Springs hoping for a fresh start, but her unique ability to experience and absorb the emotions of others quickly entangles her in a tragedy that shakes the town. Unlike previous entries in the series, True Colors ditches the episodic format, allowing for a more seamless narrative experience that keeps players hooked from start to finish. Deck 9's approach to storytelling elevates the series to new heights with a focus on deep character relationships and moral dilemmas that feel personal. The choices aren't just about right or wrong, they're about who Alex wants to be. With its vibrant yet melancholy atmosphere, emotionally charged dialogue, and a story that unfolds based on player decisions, it's no surprise that this game is regarded as one of the best Nintendo Switch games for fans of emotional storytelling. The Nintendo Switch remaster of Xenoblade Chronicles shows that Monolith Soft's series progenitor has aged wonderfully. Taking place on the frozen bodies of two warring titans, Shulk discovers he's capable of wielding a legendary sword and takes it on a vengeful quest with his friends. Xenoblade Chronicles' interesting story took some by surprise as being deceptively more nuanced than it lets on, with its inventive combination of high fantasy and sci-fi equally praised. What starts as a wartime revenge story evolves into a tale of personal growth and defying fate. A cat with a troubled past, a town on the brink of decay, and a mystery lurking beneath the surface. Night in the Woods is a melancholic yet deeply personal journey following college dropout May Borowski's return to her hometown. The game focuses on reconnecting with old friends, navigating existential crises, and unraveling a strange disappearance that casts a shadow over the town. As an indie game that leans heavily on narrative and atmosphere, Night in the Woods excels at making even the most mundane interactions feel meaningful. The writing is sharp, filled with humor and heartbreak in equal measure, and the vibrant, Yeti eerie aesthetic creates a sense of nostalgia tinged with unease. At its core, it's a story-driven game about change, friendship, and the fear of growing up, one that lingers long after the credits roll. A war between androids and machines shouldn't be this heartbreaking, but Nier Automata is anything but ordinary. The game follows 2B, a combat android sent to battle mechanical lifeforms on a ruined Earth, but beneath its hack-and-slash combat lies a story that questions the nature of consciousness, free will, and existence itself. Told through multiple playthroughs, each revealing new perspectives, the narrative structure is unlike anything else on the Switch. Combined with Yoko Taro's signature storytelling and an emotionally charged soundtrack, Nier Automata is a thought-provoking experience that lingers in the mind long after the final credits roll. Geralt of Rivia makes his return in a masterpiece that weaves one of the most intricate narratives in gaming. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt thrusts players into a vast open world filled with morally complex choices, deeply personal stories, and one of the most compelling protagonists in gaming history. From war-torn landscapes to political intrigue and deeply emotional character arcs, the game excels in every aspect of storytelling. Its quest design ensures that even side missions carry weight, making every decision feel meaningful. Few games manage to deliver this level of depth and nuance, making it a miracle port that has no right to be able to run this well on Switch, on top of being one of the best narrative-driven games on any platform. The earlier years of PC gaming paved the way for cult classic subjects like Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, and Planescape Torment. The CRPGs might not be a mainstream juggernaut, but games like Larian Studios' Divinity Original Sin 2 ensure that this strategic RPG subgenre continues strong across platforms. It's a stunning expansion on its predecessor's foundation, introducing a varied cast of characters for players to shape their journeys with. This universe's level of detail in world building, its myriad of stories, and how players can interact with them make Divinity Original Sin 2 one of the most engrossing RPG stories on Switch. A recent Nintendo Switch exclusive, Monolith Soft's Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was released to high praise and lived up to the hype. The story focuses on 6 main characters as they seek to uncover the truth behind the perpetual war plaguing their world. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is narratively ambitious as it effectively tells a compelling story across so many key players. It's a commendable balancing act, with the game's quest tackling heavy themes on the cruelty of war and its effects on the people caught in its crossfire. Even with a broad scope, it never diminishes its intimate character drama. Some houses hold memories, this one holds entire lives. What Remains of Edith Finch is an anthology of stories centered around the Finch family, each segment playing out in a distinct interactive way. One moment, players might be reliving childhood imagination by playing with rubber ducks in a bathtub, and the next, experiencing the surreal tragedy of a cannery worker losing touch with reality. As one of the best walking simulators ever made, the game crafts an emotional narrative without relying on exposition. Instead, it lets players piece together the family's history through exploration and beautifully crafted interactive flashbacks. The result is a deeply affecting experience that turns a simple home into a tapestry of sorrow, wonder, and loss. The Wyoming wilderness is supposed to be peaceful, but something feels off. Playing as Henry, a fire lookout stationed deep in a national park, players experience an isolated yet oddly intimate mystery, driven by his only connection to the outside world, Delilah, a voice on the other end of a radio. Firewatch thrives on its emotional storytelling, using dialogue and environmental details to build tension and character depth. The breathtaking visuals and melancholic tone make it one of the best walking simulators on the Nintendo Switch, proving that a story-driven game doesn't need action to be gripping. It's a slow burn, but one that sticks with players long after they've left the forest behind. Detective work has never been this existential. In Disco Elysium, players take control of a disgraced cop suffering from alcohol-induced amnesia as he attempts to solve a murder in a city drowning in political unrest. But solving the case is only part of the journey. Players must also navigate the protagonist's fractured psyche, making choices that shape his identity, morality, and even sanity. So, with no traditional combat system, the game relies entirely on dialogue, skill checks, and decision-making, making it one of the most unique story-driven games on Switch. Every playthrough can unfold differently depending on the player's approach, from an intellectual investigator to a completely unhinged mess. This level of narrative freedom has cemented Disco Elysium as one of the most critically acclaimed indie games in recent years. Few games have mastered the art of emotional storytelling like Telltale's The Walking Dead. This episodic adventure follows Lee Everett, a convicted felon who gets a second chance at life when he becomes the guardian of an orphaned girl named Clementine in the midst of a zombie apocalypse. Unlike traditional survival horror, the focus is on relationships, tough moral choices, and the emotional toll of a world gone wrong. Every decision players make can change the course of the story, leading to some of the most gut-wrenching moments in gaming. No other game turns courtroom battles into high-stakes thrillers quite like the Ace Attorney series. The Trilogy introduces players to Pheonix Wright, a rookie defense attorney who must uncover the truth behind seemingly unwinnable cases. Each trial plays out like an intense detective story where players must cross-examine witnesses, gather evidence, and most importantly, find contradictions in the witnesses' testimonies to prove their client's innocence. With its quirky cast, gripping cases, and plenty of over-the-top moments, the series has remained a fan favorite for years and a blueprint for numerous memes. Despite its visual novel format, the storytelling is packed with twists, humor, and emotional storytelling that makes every case feel personal. Even decades after its debut, Pheonix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy stands as one of the most critically acclaimed narrative-driven games on Switch. Considered a masterpiece by many, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild offers an expansive, open-world adventure with a deeply engaging story. The narrative, though presented non-linearly, is heart-wrenching and full of mystery as players piece together the events of the past to understand the current state of Hyrule and motivate to save it. The freedom given to the player, coupled with the beautiful, melancholic atmosphere, makes it a narrative experience unlike any other. Supergiant Games' Hades is a roguelike action RPG where players attempt to escape the underworld. What sets Hades apart is its compelling narrative, told through interactions with a large cast of quirky and well-developed characters. Each death isn't just a reset, but an opportunity to learn more about the world and build relationships, making the loop highly addictive. Hades seamlessly blends gameplay and narrative, offering a uniquely captivating experience. This game is also a great starting point for players looking into best retro game emulator setups, as it often tops the lists in similar indie game recommendations. The Fire Emblem franchise has come a long way since Awakening saved the gaming franchise. Even now, with the recent success of Engage, Fire Emblem Three Houses is still regarded as a series highlight. This tactical JRPG features riveting yet approachable turn-based combat mechanics, complemented by an immersive story. Filled with a colorful cast of characters, an equally vibrant high fantasy world, and a dose of political intrigue, Intelligent Systems' Three Houses is an easy game to lose dozens of hours into. Its branching story paths ensure a few unique ways to experience the main storyline. Not many RPGs manage to blend life simulation, dungeon crawling, and a deep, character-driven story as seamlessly as Persona games and Persona 5. Royal is one of the best of the bunch. The game follows the Phantom Thieves, a group of high school students who can enter a surreal world of subconscious desires to change the hearts of corrupt individuals. At its core, it's a story about rebellion, identity, and the pressures of modern society. The game gives players the freedom to balance their daily lives with their alter ego as vigilante thieves, creating a unique mix of personal relationships and thrilling turn-based combat. With its stylish visuals, unforgettable characters, and one of the best narrative-driven games on the Switch, Persona 5 Royal is a masterpiece that proves that even a 100-hour RPG can feel too short.